The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness of space like a giant crystal. Inside its long hallways, creatures from 847 different worlds moved about their daily business. Some walked on two legs like humans, others slithered or floated or moved in ways that would seem impossible on Earth. Ambassador Lee Minju stood by herself in a small room, adjusting her black suit for the 100th time. Her hands shook slightly as she looked over her notes again. She knew that what happened in the next hour would decide whether humanity had a future among the stars or would be trapped forever in their home solar system. Down the hall, in the enormous Grand Assembly Hall, the most important meeting in galaxy history was about to begin. Thousands of alien beings filled the seats, their strange voices creating a low buzzing sound that echoed off the walls. At the front of the room, a tall blue creature with 4 arms and glowing yellow eyes stood at the main podium. High Counselor Velthara was the leader of the Zephyrian Hegemony, one of the oldest and most powerful groups in the galaxy. For months he had been telling everyone who would listen that humans were dangerous. Too violent, he said. Too quick to fight. Too willing to take over new planets without asking permission. The facts are clear to anyone with eyes to see, Velthara announced as Minju walked into the huge room. His voice was deep and carried easily to every corner of the hall. These humans have built colonies on 17 different worlds in only 50 years. They do not care about our sacred protocols of expansion. They take what they want and ask questions later. We must stop them before they become a threat to all of us. Minju walked slowly to the human section, a small platform near the front of the room. Behind her sat Captain Park Jiho, a serious man in a military uniform covered with medals from battles most aliens had never heard of. Next to him was Dr. Kim Nari, a small woman with kind eyes who had been the first human to make contact with alien life forms decades ago. Both of them looked worried and Minju knew why. This whole trial was fake. The council had already decided what they were going to do before the meeting even started. Honored members of the council, Minju said, standing up straight and speaking clearly so everyone could hear her. Humanity has followed every single rule that this council has given us. When we expanded to new worlds, it was to protect human families who were already living there. We have never started a fight with any member of this council. From across the room, a massive creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard slammed his huge fist down on his speaking platform. The sound was like thunder. War Commander Grix Tau was the military leader of the Korthak Empire, and he was known throughout the galaxy for his quick temper and love of battle. Protection? Is that what you call it? He roared, his voice so loud that some of the smaller aliens covered their ears. You took over the entire Tau Ceti star system. That was not protection, that was conquest. Minju stayed calm even though her heart was beating fast. We saved human settlers from slave traders, she replied, her voice steady. The same slave traders that your government refused to do anything about when we asked for help. The room erupted in angry voices. Some aliens supported the humans, but many more seemed to agree with Velthara and Grix Tau. Minju could see that no matter what she said, most of the council members had already made up their minds. The vote happened quickly. Each of the 847 species cast their decision into the computer system. The numbers appeared on giant screens around the room. 723 votes to declare humanity a galactic threat, 124 votes against, and a few who chose not to vote at all. Velthara read the punishment in his cold, emotionless voice. Humanity is hereby declared a danger to galactic peace. All human space will be isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Any human ships or property outside their home solar system will be taken away. Humans have 30 standard days to bring all their people back to Earth and its nearby planets. As the meeting ended, Minju felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. Everything they had worked for, all the progress humans had made in building relationships with alien species, was gone in an instant. But then she looked up at the viewing area above the main floor, where visitors could watch the proceedings. There, sitting quietly in the shadows, was a man she recognized but hadn't expected to see. Commander Choi Sungmin was officially listed as a trade representative, someone who helped human businesses work with alien companies. But Minju knew his real job. He was the head of all human spy operations in Council space. 4 years, he had been gathering information and placing human agents throughout the galaxy. When their eyes met, Sungmin gave her the smallest possible nod. To anyone watching, it would look like he was just acknowledging an old friend. But Minju understood the real message. This whole trial, this vote, this punishment, it was all part of a much bigger plan. The council thought they had just solved the human problem by trapping them in their home system. They had no idea that they had actually just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Phase 1 was complete and now the real work could begin. Just 3 hours after the terrible news reached Earth, the most important people in human government gathered in a secret room deep underground. The walls were made of thick metal and no sound could get in or out. Red lights flashed on the ceiling showing that this was a real emergency. President Yoon Jae-won sat at the head of a long black table. Her gray hair looked almost white under the bright lights. She was 60 years old and had been leading Earth for 8 years, but she had never faced anything like this before. Around the table sat generals, scientists, and spy chiefs, all the people who really ran humanity's secret operations. "Tell me what's happening out there," President Yoon said in a calm voice, even though everyone could see the worry in her eyes. Admiral Han Miho stood up. He was a big man with short black hair and a chest full of medals from battles fought in space. "Madam President, I've ordered all our military ships to come back to Earth immediately. Our trading ships are being stopped and searched at every space station. Some of our people have been arrested." He paused and clenched his fists. "The blue-skinned Zephyrians have taken over our embassy on Kepler Station. Our diplomats there are now prisoners." Dr. Lim Sora pressed a button on the table, and suddenly a three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the air above them. Thousands of stars glowed like tiny lights, with different colors showing which alien species controlled which areas. "President Yoon, we've been watching the alien communications for many years," Dr. Lim said. She was a small woman with thick glasses who spent most of her time studying alien behavior. "The council members think we're stupid. They believe humans just got lucky when we learned how to travel faster than light. They have no idea how smart we really are or what technology we've been building in secret." The president turned to look at the person sitting at the far end of the table. Director Kang Hyejin was a thin woman with sharp eyes who rarely spoke in meetings. Most people in the government didn't even know what her job was, because her work was so secret that only 5 people on Earth knew about it. "Director Kang, how long before we can fight back?" President Yoon asked. Director Kang smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile that made people nervous. "We've been ready for 5 years, Madam President. While the aliens thought we were playing with simple rockets, we built quantum tunnel drives that can move our ships instantly across the galaxy. Our invisible stealth technology is so advanced that their sensors can't even detect us when we're right next to them." She waved her hand and the star map changed. Now it showed hundreds of red dots scattered throughout alien space. Each of these red marks is a human spy who has been living among the aliens for years. Some pretend to be traders selling Earth goods. Others act like scientists studying old ruins. A few even work as diplomats in alien governments. But they're all really our agents, and they've been sending us information about alien military secrets for decades. General Oh Jae-won, a serious-looking woman in a dark green uniform, leaned forward. "Our archaeological teams weren't just digging up old alien artifacts for museums," she said. "Every piece of alien technology we found we took apart and studied. We learned how their weapons work, how their ships fly, how their computers think. Then we built better versions." She grinned. "In many cases, our copies are now better than the originals." President Yoon stood up slowly. Everyone in the room became very quiet. "The Galactic Council decided to vote about humanity's future without asking us what we thought. That was their mistake." She looked directly at Admiral Han. "Admiral, start Operation Thunder immediately." Admiral Han's face became very serious. "Madam President, are you absolutely sure about this? Once we begin, we can never go back to the way things were before." "They decided our fate when they voted against us," President Yoon replied. "Now we will decide theirs." She looked around the table at all the military officers and spy chiefs. "The galaxy is about to learn something important. Humanity didn't survive all the wars on Earth by hiding and defending ourselves. We survived by being smarter and stronger than our enemies." Commander Lee Sang-hyuk from the Intelligence Division had been quiet until now. He was the person in charge of all human spies throughout the galaxy. "Our agents are reporting that the alien species are already having parties, thinking they've solved their human problem," he said with a cold laugh. "They believe they've trapped us on Earth like animals in a cage. They're about to learn how wrong they are." President Yoon walked to the window that looked out at the Earth's surface far above them. Even through the thick glass and metal, she could see the lights of the cities where billions of humans lived their daily lives, not knowing that their government was about to start the biggest war in galactic history. "Send the message to all our hidden agents," she ordered. "Operation Thunder begins at midnight, Galactic Standard Time. The aliens wanted to isolate humanity." She turned back to face the room. "Instead, they're about to discover that they've been living among us all along. In exactly 6 hours, the galaxy would change forever. The aliens just didn't know it yet. At exactly 3 in the morning, galactic time, the most coordinated military attack in history began. In 200 different star systems across the galaxy, human warships appeared out of nowhere like ghosts materializing from thin air. Captain Yang Minsu stood on the bridge of his ship, Soul's Pride, watching the screens that showed empty space 1 second and the enemy's home system the next. His ship had just traveled instantly across hundreds of light years using technology the aliens didn't even know existed. "I can see the target," called out Lieutenant Kim Jisoo from her position at the control panel. She was staring at 17 enormous alien warships floating near a space station. These ships belonged to the Zephyrians, the blue-skinned aliens who had led the vote against humanity. "The entire Zephyrian Grand Fleet is right there, just sitting like ducks in a pond." Captain Yang nodded. "Begin the attack. But remember, we want to capture their ships, not blow them up. We need prisoners who can tell us their secrets, not dead heroes." The human weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Quantum torpedoes flew through space completely invisible until the moment they hit their targets. The alien ships' engines exploded in bright flashes, leaving the massive vessels drifting helplessly through space. Ion cannons shot beams of energy that shut down all the aliens' communication systems so they couldn't even call for help. In just 12 minutes, the most powerful fleet in the Zephyrian military was floating dead in space, unable to move or fight back. The same thing was happening all across the galaxy. On Kepler Station, where the aliens had taken over the human embassy, Commander Park Sung-jae crawled through air vents and service tunnels that his spy teams had secretly mapped years earlier. Behind him followed 20 human soldiers, all moving as quietly as shadows. They emerged in the station's main control room, where alien technicians were monitoring communications from across their territory. The aliens were so surprised that most of them didn't even have time to reach for their weapons before human soldiers had them surrounded. "Attention everyone on this station," Commander Park announced over the communication system, his voice reaching every room and corridor. "This is Commander Park of the Earth Defense Force. We are now in control of this facility. All council members and their staff should remain calm and do exactly what we tell them. Any species that wants to leave this station may do so safely. Those who choose to stay will be treated fairly and with respect." Meanwhile, in the Wolf 359 star system, Colonel Shin Yura was commanding an entire fleet of human warships as they appeared right in the middle of the Korthak military formation. The Korthaks were the bear lizard aliens who loved war and fighting, and they had built their ships to be as big and scary-looking as possible. But size meant nothing when the enemy appeared inside your formation without warning. The massive Korthak warships were designed to intimidate enemies from far away, not to fight fast, small ships that could appear and disappear like magic. War Commander Grixtal, the same alien who had shouted at the human ambassador during the trial, tried to escape in his flagship. But human technology created an invisible cage around his ship, trapping it in place no matter how hard his engines worked. "This is impossible." Grixtal's angry voice came over the communication system. "Our sensors showed no human ships anywhere near our space. How did you get here?" Captain John Minji, commanding the human attack fleet, replied calmly from her ship. "You've never seen quantum tunnel technology before. Our ships can appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly. Surrender now and we promise your crews will not be harmed." Back on Earth, President Yoon stood in the secret command center, watching dozens of screens that showed the battles happening across the galaxy. Green lights appeared one by one as human forces reported success after success. In just 6 hours, humanity had destroyed or captured the military fleets of every major alien power. But President Yoon knew that winning the battles was only half the plan. Now came the most important part. Dr. Kim Yejin, who worked in the department that handled alien communications and propaganda, pressed a series of buttons on her control panel. Suddenly, every television screen, computer monitor, communication device, and information display in alien space received the same broadcast at exactly the same time. The face that appeared on billions of screens across the galaxy was Ambassador Lee Minju, the human representative who had tried to defend her species during the trial just hours earlier. "Citizens of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and strong. "Your leaders have been lying to you for centuries. Today we will show you the truth they tried to hide." The broadcast began showing secret documents, recorded conversations and hidden video files that human spies had been collecting for decades. The evidence showed how the council leaders had been stealing resources from smaller, weaker species. It revealed secret weapons programs designed to wipe out any species that became too successful or independent. It exposed lies, corruption, and crimes that the alien governments had committed against their own people. Most shocking of all, It showed how the Council had planned to eventually eliminate humanity entirely, not just isolate them. The vote to contain humans was supposed to be the first step in a plan to destroy Earth completely. The message was simple and clear. Humanity had not attacked the galaxy to conquer it. They had attacked to set it free from tyrants and bullies who had been controlling everyone for too long. Across hundreds of worlds, ordinary alien citizens watched the truth unfold on their screens and realized they had been slaves without knowing it. Within just 3 days of the human attack, everything in the galaxy started to change. On a beautiful water world called Aquaria Prime, where intelligent whale-like creatures lived in floating cities on the ocean surface, something incredible happened. Speaker Tlithera was the leader of the Cetacean Republic. She was a massive creature, over 50 feet long, with smooth gray skin and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. For 200 years, her people had been forced to mine rare crystals from the ocean floor and send them to the Galactic Council for almost no payment in return. Standing on a floating platform in front of thousands of her people, Speaker Tlithera made an announcement that shocked everyone who heard it. "My fellow citizens," she said, her deep voice carrying across the water. "The Galactic Council has betrayed us for centuries. They told us we were too primitive to govern ourselves, too simple to handle advanced technology. But the humans have shown us the truth." She gestured with one of her massive flippers toward a holographic display floating above the crowd. It showed secret council documents that proved how the whale people had been deliberately kept poor and powerless. "For 200 years, we have been treated like slaves in our own oceans. Our worlds have been nothing more than mining colonies for the council's benefit. These humans risked everything to show us evidence of our own oppression." Her voice grew stronger and more determined. "Today the Cetacean Republic joins the Free Worlds Alliance. We will be free." The crowd of whale people erupted in celebration, their songs of joy echoing across the ocean for miles. Deep underground on Earth, in a secret command center beneath the city of Seoul, Director Kang Hyejin sat surrounded by dozens of computer screens showing reports from across the galaxy. She had not slept for 3 days, but her eyes were bright with excitement as she watched the rebellion spread. "President Yoon," she said into her communication device, "the numbers are incredible. 17 different species have declared independence from council control in just 3 days. The Andromedan Mining Consortium has switched to our side and brought their entire fleet of mining ships with them. Even some of the council's most important worlds are starting to question whether they should stay loyal." She pulled up a galactic map that showed the rapid changes happening everywhere. Green areas represented species that had joined the Free Worlds Alliance, red areas were still controlled by the old council, and yellow areas were undecided. In just 3 days, nearly a quarter of the galaxy had turned green. "The Regellian Trade Federation announced this morning that they're joining us," Director Kang continued. "The Crystal Singers of Vegas 7 sent a message saying they want to negotiate. Even the silicon-based life forms from the Asteroid Belt Collective are asking for meetings. But not everyone was ready to give up the old ways." High Counselor Velthara, the tall blue Zephyrian who had led the vote against humanity, was now trapped on his own homeworld. Human ships surrounded the planet, and his own people were starting to question his leadership. In desperation, he made a decision that would prove to be his final mistake. "Send word to all remaining loyal fleets," he ordered his military commanders. "We will strike directly at Earth itself. If we destroy the human homeworld, this rebellion will collapse." Within hours, every warship that still followed the old council gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system. There were over 300 ships from a dozen different species, all armed with the most powerful weapons they could find. It was the largest fleet ever assembled for a single battle. Admiral Han Miho stood on the bridge of his flagship, Sejong the Great, watching the enemy fleet approach on his viewing screens. He was calm and relaxed, even though the alien force outnumbered his visible ships by 10 to 1. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the alien fleet is demanding our surrender. They say if we give up now, they'll only destroy our military and leave Earth's cities alone." Admiral Han chuckled, a sound that made his crew smile despite the dangerous situation. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with. Lieutenant Kim, activate the Revelation Protocol." Lieutenant Kim pressed a single button on her control panel. Suddenly, the space around the alien fleet lit up like a fireworks display. Hundreds of human warships appeared out of nowhere, their stealth systems shutting off simultaneously. The alien fleet found itself completely surrounded, with human ships above, below, and on all sides. The alien ships had been so focused on the few human vessels they could see that they never noticed the invisible fleet that had been waiting for them. "This is Admiral Han Miho of the Earth Defense Force," he broadcast to the alien fleet. You are outnumbered 5 to 1. Your weapons are inferior to ours. Your ships are slower than ours. And you are very, very far from home. On the alien flagship, High Counselor Velthara stared at his screens in disbelief. His sensors were showing human ships everywhere, ships that had been completely invisible just seconds before. Surrender immediately, Admiral Han continued, and your crews will be treated with respect according to human military law. Continue this attack, and you will discover why humanity survived every war on our homeworld. The Battle of Seoul lasted exactly 27 minutes. When it was over, not a single human ship had been damaged, while 3/4 of the alien fleet was either destroyed or captured. As news of the victory spread across the galaxy, even more species declared their independence from the old council. The rebellion had become a revolution and there was no turning back. 6 months had passed since that terrible day when the Galactic Council voted to isolate humanity forever. Now, Ambassador Li Minju stood in a place that would have been impossible to imagine back then, the brand new capital building of the Galactic Republic on a planet called New Geneva. The enormous meeting hall was filled with the strangest gathering in galactic history. There were tall, thin aliens with silver skin sitting next to short, furry creatures that looked like walking teddy bears. Floating jellyfish-like beings drifted above seats designed for rock creatures that barely fit through the doors. In total, representatives from 400 different species had come to witness the birth of a new kind of government. Today is not about ending the old government, Ambassador Li announced, her voice carried by translation machines to every ear, tentacle, and sensory organ in the room. Today is about starting something completely new, true democracy for everyone in the galaxy. Humanity never wanted to conquer anyone. We wanted to set everyone free. We didn't come to rule over you. We came to help lift you up. As she spoke, Li looked out at faces and forms that represented nearly half of all known intelligent life in the galaxy. Some had joined the Republic immediately after seeing the evidence of council corruption. Others had taken months to decide. A few had joined only after their own people demanded it. The old Galactic Council powers had to make difficult choices. The Zephyrian hegemony, led by the blue-skinned aliens who had started this whole conflict, was now reduced to controlling only a handful of their original worlds. Most of their territory had declared independence and joined the Republic. High Counselor Velthara, the proud alien leader who had confidently voted to destroy humanity just 6 months ago, now sat in a small section reserved for former council officials. His 4 arms hung limply at his sides, and his glowing yellow eyes had lost their fierce light. He had formally surrendered his government's authority to the Republic 3 weeks earlier, choosing cooperation over complete destruction. "We accept the new order," he had said in a voice barely louder than a whisper. "The Zephyrian people deserve a chance to be part of something better than what we gave them." But not everyone was ready to accept change. War Commander Grixtal, the massive bear lizard alien who had always loved fighting, still controlled 12 star systems from his fortress world deep in Korthak space. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their aggressive nature and their belief that might makes right. From his heavily defended planet, Grixtal had sent one final message to the new Republic. "You humans may think you have won, but this war is far from finished. The Korthak Empire will never bow to weaklings who talk about peace and democracy. We will build our strength and return when you least expect it." President Yoon's reply had been broadcast across the galaxy for everyone to hear. Her voice was calm but firm, like a teacher explaining something to a stubborn child. "War Commander Grix, you have exactly 2 choices. You can join the Galactic Republic and help us build a better future for everyone, or you can stay isolated on your worlds while the rest of the galaxy moves forward and leaves you behind. You have 1 standard month to decide." The Korthaks chose isolation. Human and Republic forces established a complete blockade around Korthak space. No ships could enter or leave. No communications could get through except for official diplomatic messages. The Korthak Empire, which had once controlled hundreds of worlds, was now trapped in their small corner of space like prisoners in their own jail. Some alien species thought this punishment was too harsh. But most remembered the centuries of fear and oppression they had suffered under Korthak rule. The bear lizard aliens had enslaved entire species, destroyed planets that refused to surrender, and turned war into their primary form of entertainment. "They made their choice," said Speaker Tlithera, the whale-like representative from Aquaria Prime. "For 200 years they chose violence over peace, conquest over cooperation. Now they can live with the consequences." The new Galactic Republic was nothing like the old Council. Instead of having permanent seats for the oldest or most powerful species, every member got representation based on what they contributed to the common good. Small species that had been ignored for centuries now had voices in government. Young civilizations that had been treated like children were given the chance to prove themselves. Dr. Kim Nari, now serving as the Republic's first Secretary of Species Relations, presented the final membership numbers to President Yoon. 412 species have joined the Republic. Trade between member worlds has increased by 400%. Scientific cooperation has led to breakthrough discoveries every week. And for the first time in recorded galactic history, there are no active wars between any Republic members. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years were now working together on joint projects. Technology that had been hoarded by the Council elite was now shared freely among all Republic members. Young aliens from primitive worlds were attending advanced universities alongside beings from the most developed civilizations. Ambassador Lee looked out at the celebrating crowd and smiled. The Council's vote had indeed been their last mistake, but not because humanity had destroyed them. It was their last mistake because it had finally shown the galaxy what freedom could look like. The old order was gone forever, replaced by something better than anyone had dared to imagine. And it had all started with one simple idea: that every thinking being in the galaxy deserved a chance to reach for the stars.